This morning it's way below freezing again, but because it warmed up yesterday, most of the snow is gone. It's still cold. We're expecting a little bit of snow this afternoon or some wintry mix, but I may have a gap to get something painted today. I don't know. And it's always an ongoing challenge to leapfrog my way into getting the best use out of the day. I think we're going to be able to plan out a day here. We have some parts to buff. I have some more parts I want to take off of the project bike. And I hope the weather cooperates. We're going to find out. And boy, this brings back memories of doing the FCR restoration last year. When it was so cold in this garage, I just couldn't wait to get in the house. And I can't wait right now. So the first thing I want to do today is pull off the hugger. That's another part we can do some painting on, and if we can't paint, we'll at least get it prepped up and ready for the first day we can paint. And I really do like doing all these restorations in bits and pieces. I call it leapfrogging, sequencing, you call it whatever you want, but it works for me. It allows me to always have a little project going all through the winter. Now our friend Scott in Kansas sent me an email last night that I thought was, well, kind of funny. He's doing a little restoration of his own, and he said, when you're done, are you going to do the RD? Well, you know, I really would like to if I had 2 lives, but we originally started out thinking we were going to have time to do the RD. I don't think so. This restoration on the 650 is all encompassing. I plan to really do a super job on it. And anytime you do this kind of work, it's got to be, for me anyway, it's got to be that you treat it as if time doesn't exist. Because if you're looking to make time and you're looking to get paid by the hour, not really going to have a lot of fun. So while I'm cold and out here and flipping battery charges, I may as well pull that part off. Get that out of the way. Now, as can happen on these wonderful jobs, there's one bolt that's frozen in place, just like on the front fender. I put some WD-40 on it, and I'm going to have to Dremel a slot in that or something to get it out. You know, after beating it to death, and I had to Dremel a slot across it and take it out with an impact driver, but it's out. Now, getting that bolt out was a great way to start the day. All right, I got the part inside, and what I'm going to do, there's definitely some repair work to be done here. Repair work here. I've got to glue that tab back on. That tab is broken. And of course, the big thing, degreasing it. So what I brought in the diesel fuel. I'm going to spray this with diesel fuel in the sink and then go up and have a cup of coffee. Now, the wonderful smell of diesel fuel in the house, and we'll clean that up when we get back. But we need coffee. Wow, is it cold out there? And there's always something. That is why these restorations become an adventure. And there's always a frozen bolt, a broken bolt, something you're missing, something you can't find. Always an adventure. So after the diesel fuel does its little loosening of the grit, and of course we got to do some work on this part, some serious work in fact. I want to take a brush. Anytime I'm working on a part that has chain lube and grease and dirt, and I will do everything I can to get it immaculately clean before I ever hit it with sandpaper, because once I hit this with sandpaper, all I'm going to be doing is grinding it right in, and it's going to be a mess. This is really a critical thing. Simple green is good. What I did, I let the diesel fuel sit for about, well, for a cup of coffee, 15 minutes, 10 minutes. And it loosened everything up. You can see there's big chunks everywhere here. But what's terrible about the diesel fuel, it stinks like holy hell. So I have a cure for that I've learned the hard way. I'm going to try to get the rest of this done. Now, when I'm done with this, and I'm totally done, I want plenty of soap on this, as long as I get the grease off. When I'm all done with this part, here's a good trick. This is a real, it's got a smell to it like a, I don't know, house of prostitution would be a good way. It's got a very powerful smell. And what this will do, it'll kill off the smell of the diesel fuel. And hopefully in the cellar here in the shop, all day I won't feel like I'm driving a diesel truck. But any of the products that have, I don't know, whatever chemicals they put in it to make them smell nice, make them smell like two-stroke oil. And it's actually a good soap too, but no substitute for just over and over 3, 4, 5 times. But one drop of that chain lube or grease or any of that gets into our paint, nothing good is going to happen. Nothing. And I've got to do that little carbon fiber repair on the tab. That's another thing I'm looking at. I'm trying to plan out the day because I'm hoping I can get some painting done this afternoon, if it ever goes above freezing here. So anyway, once I'm done with this, then the last thing is, and I think this is relatively clean now, I'm going to fire up the steam cleaner and steam clean it. So it's totally grease-free before I ever touch it with sandpaper. It's actually a good idea when I'm done, I'll clean the whole sink up because this part really was dirty. Now that's what I like about leapfrogging too. I don't have so many parts that it gets overwhelming. I'd much rather work on 1 or 2 parts a day. And the steam is the best way I know to get that final little bit of goop off, get the rest of the crap off. If I show our little Harbor Freight steam cleaner, well, we have used that on a regular basis and it really does a great job. Now this is prep wall degreaser, and it's funny, when I started painting motorcycles in the 60s, motorcycles were made out of steel and metal, and so you'd take them apart, go down to the local place that did tombstones, and for $5 he'd sandblast even a frame. Well, can't sandblast anything anymore, and unlike when you sandblast something, there's always some residual grease or dirt. Now the way I know if I'm ready to paint here, pretty simple. The rag is still dirty, there's still stuff to come off of here. Even after we steam clean it, there's stuff to come off. It gets in the little grooves and the little edges and angles, and I gotta fix this little piece here that broke off. That's where that bolt was. I'm sure my rough hands had something to do with it. It didn't just break. Might have been cracked like those things on the Benelli and the Bimota. Holy mackerel. But we'll take care of it. All right, so we know this part now is hopefully grease-free, or as grease-free as practical, before I even touch it with sandpaper. Before I get started on it, I wanted to show you, this is sitting now. This is going to be a second day. I want to leave this sitting up near the heating vent right underneath it, because I want to see if that's going to buff out. And if not, then I'll repeat what we did yesterday, just add some resin to it. But that'll be an interesting test, because this part really does take a beating. Now, if you look, this piece, of course, is going to fit right in here. It's a reasonably good fit, but because I'm going to reinforce it, what I want to do is where the resin is going to go, I want to take some rough sandpaper and roughen it all up. The rougher I can make it, the better. I'll get a better bond for the little reinforcement that's going to go in there. Both sides. And if they're not reinforced, there's a good chance somewhere down the road this is going to crack or break again. So another visit from Santa while I'm working here. And what has Santa got in that bag for me? What are that, Ducati parts? What do we got in there?
It's a secret.
It's a secret, huh?
This is the last gift I'm wrapping.
The last gift?
Everything's done.
You mean I can go into full-time motorcycle work now? Not really.
Why not? Yes, you can. Yes, you can.
Okay, so we used some thick CA, some thick Brodax CA, just to tack that piece in place. Now I want to go get some carbon fiber and make a little patch for the back. That'll be relatively easy to do. Now I'm just trying to get some good saturation here on this part. And of course when it kicks off in 10-15 seconds, we'll trim everything off with sandpaper. That should really be nice and solid then, solider than a stock part. Little tip for people that don't know, keep your CA, these are new jars, new bottles. Always keep it in the refrigerator, not the freezer. Try to show this if I can. Now I can just put on a couple extra coats of thin CA right over this. This will seal it up. Now once I do this, I just careful not to get a razor blade cut on those sharp edges. And we've done this to every single motorcycle fairing that's ever had a crack in it and never had one re-crack a second time. So this is good technology. Even the ones Mark Morgan brought some here that we had to make replacement parts for. Good technology. Now you can get a certain amount of this off, obviously with scissors, but these little things, if they get CA on them, they, just like epoxy, they turn into razor blades. And now the thing is, a nice little sanding block. And we're going to have to radius this all off, address the whole thing, get all these edges sanded, get it prepped up for a coat of primer. And I'll take my time because this is a part you really see. There's a big gap between the seat and the tire, and this part definitely shows. Now this part of it is going to be kind of time consuming. I want to get a good tooth on this paint. I don't want to have I'm going to prime this. I want to get the edges all radius, and I want a good tooth on it. I'm sanding it with 600. I want it to be really, I don't want to have a bubble in the paint or anything. Again, this is a part you see that, and I've got to detail this area out here, where we made the repair. Once again, this is just a sanding job, and before I actually paint this or prime it, I'll run out and make sure those holes line up and everything. I haven't moved it where the thing is going to be under tension when I get it in there. For anybody who might be new or haven't seen more of the videos, if you have bodywork that needs repairing or pieces missing or tabs broken, that's usually very common. Well, we tried, and I think we've got a really good selection of videos on our channel, and there probably is 200 or 300 to be honest, that show how to repair fairings using CA, using epoxy, using carbon fiber, using a variety of materials. But getting these old parts, now, to me, there's a lot of satisfaction out of bringing one of these parts back to like new or better than new. It's better than new because when these parts were new, they were flat black. And there was nothing about them that was appealing. Yeah, they were just flat black. When I'm done with them, they won't be flat black anymore. Okay, the next step is that fitting out in the garage. I want to make sure everything lines up. Anytime I do a tab repair like this, I want to make sure I haven't created a problem that it's easier to solve it right now if there's a problem. Okay, the fit is verified. That's exactly the way it should be, even though I was hammering away on that part for quite a while. You never want to put all the finish on and then have to make an adjustment. I'd rather make the adjustment before. Once that part is all buffed out, I don't want to have to scratch it and screw around with it. Oh, we're ready to prime it. Now we also need a way of holding this while we're painting it, and that's why I never throw bolts away. These are all the spare bolts for doing just this, and that'll be a perfect handle when we're going to paint it. Now unfortunately the weather was predicted for about a 50% chance of rain or snow, wintry mix, and I hope it's not going to snow in the middle of doing this. Anytime we're doing a refinish over an old finish, I want to seal that old finish. Primer, sealer, not just primer, primer, sealer. Have not found the big difference between this and the Rust-Oleum primer sealer. Pretty similar stuff. Now after tack ragging it down, we will be ready to prime, and so far, again, maybe it's a lucky day, maybe it's not going to snow or rain at all. Never can tell. We're going to put that down by the heating vent and see how that dries up. May need a second or third coat. Won't know until that dries up. Well, it looks like that's all we're going to be able to get done today here, on this part anyway. I want that to dry overnight up by a heating vent. I want to sand that coat out. A couple little spots in here that I just wasn't happy with. And it looks like it's going to rain any minute out there. I don't want to be in the middle of painting and it starts raining. So the day played out a little bit differently than what I had originally planned, but we were able to get a couple things done. This will sit under a heating vent for another day before we try to buff that out. Our part up here, going to sit by a heating vent. I'll wet sand that out tomorrow. Put another coat on. I dug out the black windshield. We may try to mimic the shape of that windshield. This is a much higher windshield, and I'm not crazy about it. Of course, we're not going to be able to paint today. I was hoping I'd get that painting done. But that's part of, I guess, every restoration I've ever worked on. It's unpredictable, and every day is different. So as this day ends, I'm looking over the other parts, and I think we're really going to have two nice parts here. And remember, this problem with this part is this is going to take a beating, so I don't really have to make it jewelry, but I would like to have it nice, shiny. I don't know if you can see the shine on a carbon fiber. Anyway, the hugger, it needs another sand out. It's always best, in my case, old school. If I can, I like to let it dry overnight before I put the black on. And as the day played out, it started raining. So we got the priming done. We got a couple of little things done here, and looking forward to seeing how this is going to buff out in the next couple days. Anyway, we're into the second month of the restoration, probably 4 or 5 months to go. It looks like this would just go click, 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 click. No, this bench is going to be full of wheels and parts and struts and forks, and there's a whole ton of work left to do on what I envision this restoration will be. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and thanks for watching.